Happy Friday. This is the No Tracers podcast. My name is Kay, known as No Tracers. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to No Tracers, the podcast where I take you on an adventure through the hidden gems and forgotten corners of the world. From abandoned buildings and tunnels to rooftop views and street art, join me as we uncover the secrets of the urban landscape. With interviews from experienced explorers, tips and tricks for navigating the urban terrain, and thrilling first-hand accounts of their explorations. Get ready to discover the world like never before. Come explore with us. But remember, leave no trace. So it's Friday, we're here, we're about to go exploring. I don't know where you're headed, but I hope this podcast gets you through your journey. My name is Kay, I am known as No Tracers. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, I have a website, YouTube, No Tracers Urbex. All my links are down in the description, but welcome to the show. This is No Tracers, a podcast all about urban exploring. If you're new, well, hey, the show comes out every Friday with different guests, sometimes just a solo episode, but most of the time I have guests that come on and share their urban exploring stories and the crazy things they've been through, their advice for newer explorers and veteran explorers. So if you like urban exploring, if you like abandonment, if you like decay, subscribe to the podcast. If you do like it, please leave a rating and feedback. It helps the podcast grow, helps us find more listeners just like you. So I love reading the feedback and I love hearing from you guys. Also, I just started a broadcast channel on my Instagram at no.tracers. If you want to go over there, join the broadcast channel. It lets you know when new things are happening with the podcast, with my life as an urban explorer. And if I'm traveling to your area, I will often post where I will be. And would love to link up with some of you guys. So definitely join that broadcast channel. It's been a really cool way to like connect and do polls and things like that. So thank you for doing that. This week on the podcast, I am speaking with an urban explorer from Chicago. His username is Dusk Till Dawn. His name is Dawn, and he is going to be talking about how he got started. He's going to be sharing some insights with you guys that I think you'll be really interested to hear. And I'm very excited for this episode. But before we get into it, I just want to talk about my last trip to St. Louis. So I just did a job in St. Louis. I was filming a documentary for somebody that I can talk about at a later date. I just can't talk about it right now because we're in the process of working on it. So we're kind of keeping it under wraps. But I went to St. Louis and I reached out to a couple friends. I knew Bentley Schatz lived there and I knew that Second Try lived there. So I reached out to both of them. Bentley got back to me. He was like, yo, let's go explore. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So I met up with Bentley and Lucy Liu. I haven't had Lucy on the podcast yet because she doesn't have a computer. And in order to do the podcast, you have to have a computer so that you can use the website that I use to record our sessions. But she's working on that. So go hit up Lucy and tell her she needs to come on the podcast. I'm sure she's listening to this right now. What's up? But yeah, I met up with Bentley and Lucy and we hit an abandoned church in St. Louis. You can see the video on my YouTube channel, No Tracers Urbex. And then we went and hit a rooftop for sunset. And I feel like in St. Louis, that is urban exploring. You got the abandonment of the city and you've also got rooftops. So it was really cool to do a rooftop again. I haven't done a rooftop since I lived in California. So it's probably been like 5-6 years since I actually did a rooftop. So that was super cool. I did the mandatory dangle. You got to dangle. So I did the dangle, got the shoe shot. It was cool. Scary, but cool. I'm not like, heights are kind of scary. When I'm on a roof, it's kind of scary. Cranes, scary. Skydiving, I'll do it all day. But yeah, it's the fact that I don't have a parachute on the edge of a building. It freaks me out. Anyway, so that was super cool. Then we met up with then we met up with Second Try for dinner. Hung out with him for a little bit, which was super cool to meet him. This was my first time meeting all these people, so very, very cool. I might be going back to St. Louis next weekend for an event that's going on to film a documentary. I'll let you guys know about that. But if I do go back, I'll be meeting up with a bunch of other explorers, Josh Metzger, and so could be going back next weekend. But it's hard for me to like justify going somewhere if I'm not getting paid. But I gotta like stop that mentality, especially for urban exploring. I got to do more passion projects this year. I feel like I've done so much work that I haven't had any time to do what I want to do. So I have that trip potentially coming up. And then mid-September, I have another trip coming up that I'm not going to talk about, but it is urban exploring related. Very excited about that. I'll talk about it after the fact. I don't want to like blow up the spots or anything. So Going to be meeting up with a couple people and exploring some places that I've always wanted to explore. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, that is a little update on what's going on with me as far as my stuff goes. But enough about me. Let's get into this podcast. Dusk Till Dawn, welcome to the podcast. Let's do this.
My name is Don. I operate the Instagram page dusttill_Don. I've been exploring since 2017, right going into high school. So I mean that's pretty much it for the introduction of myself. But I've been doing it, since 2017, and yeah, it's been on the up since. I'll say that.
Very cool. So, what got you into exploring in the first place? What made you first hear about urban exploring, and what was the first place you explored?
Well, it's like in a weird way, it was like a transition from. It kind of bled from the my interest in horror films. I always saw a beauty in the abandoned building scene from just specific horror movies like Session 9 and Grave Encounters. I think that's like the biggest one, Grave Encounters. So I always wanted to do it on my own. Unfortunately, I kind of fell into the whole like YouTube exploring thing at the beginning, and that was kind of like my like biggest push when I was younger. So that was like what I tried to do it at the beginning with the whole like GoPro video camera type stuff, and it kind of manifested from there. And then over the years, I just transitioned out. Kind of saw that it was kind of lackluster, and I wasn't achieving what I wanted to achieve in a sense because I was surrounded by a lot of people that were more so looking to do videos, but then they ended up trashing the place or these places. Yeah, all the places that I was doing in like the suburbs of Chicago, they were getting just rapidly vandalized and blown up. Like there was like a rock crusher outside of the city of Joliet. It's well known now, so that's why I could talk about
Right.
it. But places like those that were like kind of niche and kind of like I don't want to say super low key, but there wasn't at the time though. There was also wasn't super like a big attention to the whole urbex scene, but I kind of saw through all the bullshit. Let's just say like that, and yeah, going from 2018, 2019, 2020, growing up too, I just wanted to achieve what I saw, and that was like like the whole preservation aspect of things. So I transitioned from video and that whole I want to get famous on YouTube mindset to I want to let's make some cool art. Let's try to channel emotion through the photos, and then take cool photos and preserve the buildings and document history with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about that aspect of it, especially if they're like, come up in the TikTok era, if you will. I feel like a lot of the urbex videos, or if you can call it that, I think it's just like teens destroying shit. Honestly, like I think that the urbex community is being wildly misrepresented through those videos because we're not like that. The true at heart urbexers, we love the history, we love the preservation aspect of it. For you, like, do you have a certain type of building that you prefer to explore, whether it be houses or hospitals or anything in between?
I always loved churches. I can't get enough of churches. More recently, I've been digging deeper into medical and hospitals and morgues, though, because of the music scene I'm in, like the bands I like listening to, and just like that original like horror movie roots. Like now, I'm seeing that there's so much like art that you can do with like the morgue table, like the all that stuff. So but that's more from like an artistic perspective, but deep down, I think churches for me are like the absolute like go to because it's definitely like a testament to time. I see it as how you see how religion is fading, and you
Yes.
see that in real time with these churches like closing down and just being condemned, and it represents like where religion is going. And I'm on the side of things like I am religious, however, I do understand why this is happening, and it just shows like it's just like it's very blunt. It's fading. The churches are closing. whether or not you support support religion or not. I think it's cool that you are documenting a piece that was once a very important thing to people, like way back when.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I explored a church, I just thought to myself, like, how could you just abandon the house of God, if you will? And
Right,
it
right.
was it blew my mind. I was so baffled by like the whole thought of it, but it's definitely a fascinating thing. I also love churches. I think that they're beautiful, especially the old school churches. Now we see more of these like mega churches, which almost look like church warehouses or like
Like
factories,
cult cult societies.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's definitely a different style now, I feel, but uh yeah, it's the old school churches are definitely my vibe as well. I love that stuff.
yeah.
Um
But
have
yeah,
you Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, as you said, like, yeah, it's hard to believe that they would abandon that. But then when you realize like how much, I don't want to say issues, but a lot of like, let's just say like darkness
Yeah.
goes on with the archdiocese that
Yeah,
control these buildings, then you kind of understand why.
yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten permission to explore any places?
Oh, all the time. If there's ever like, usually I would reach out if I know the building is alarmed or has cameras or the
Mhm.
cops would respond within like 5 minutes or less. I always try to reach out because like that's how you know the owner cares and he doesn't want the building broken into or whatnot, or just you know you just know they care. I have in Chicago, I've reached out to pretty much all the theater owners. Like I'm at good terms with most, if not all, the abandoned theater owners, and they understand like my perspective, and I understand theirs. So I've gotten permission through that, and also knowing that like, well, one owner would like, or caretaker would like, he would beat you up if he caught you in the building. But this
Mm.
is before they redid the whole alarm system and cameras. But if he I've heard that he's caught people and like he's like grabbed them by the neck or like slammed them down, like tell me how you got in, or I'm calling the police and I'm gonna beat the shit out of you before you call the police.
Damn.
So like that's like what I want to avoid. If the owner is a hostile, the chance of getting arrested is very high, or just alarms, cameras, because you don't want to get caught on camera doing this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Do you have any urban exploration injury stories?
Aside from like a few cuts on the knee and falling down a water slide, like a small one that my friend Tony could probably like, yeah, he keeps bringing up that like I just like slipped and fell down a water slide, but nothing crazy. I tried wear the right clothing, jeans always, long pants, jeans, because it's got it's got enough layering where you're protected from shrubs or glass. I mean, not much glass, but I've never got anything like devastating or had to go to the hospital. Just minor abrasions.
Gotcha, gotcha. Uh, what about your scariest or riskiest exploration?
Scariest or riskiest? It's been quite a bit of years. I've kind of like mellowed down being in college now, like kind of mellowed out. So all my craziness was like senior year of high school and like the summers. But I'd say probably the craziest or like the scariest was a church in Pittsburgh. I can talk about it now because I don't know if it's like sealed up to the point where no one can enter it, or they might have. It could be renovated now, but we entered it in. It was already open. Door swung open. This like, I'm assuming a nail or like some kind of board was keeping it in place, but it wasn't there when we pulled up. And we walked through. Me and my two friends was in there for, I'd say, like 2 hours. Like we were in there for a good while. And right as we were coming out, walking back to the door we entered, front door, by the way, we see through like the faded glass, like someone was at the door. And then we kind of just like took a closer look and then backed up into the other room because we realized that like the owner or like the owner's family was at the door and was sealing it up as we were inside.
Wow.
So while that was going on, we were just checking every other like door and window, and we realized that like no, this place is crazy sealed up. Whoever did work to that door was he knew what he or she knew what they were doing to get it open. So yeah, there was no way out via door or like normal window. We did find this like I don't want to say second floor window, but it was pretty high up, like 8 to 10 feet. And the friend of mine, he got it open, and then we made that jump, and it was raining. It was not a good scene, and we're thinking that we only have like at most like 2 minutes to get out of here because they know we're inside probably with the the running and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so they're gonna call the cops, like if they didn't already. But when we jumped, and I was the last one jumping out, the family, it was like a family of four, you know, in a van. One of them was sealing it up, and another one was around the corner because we jumped into like this like alleyway, and they saw us, and she was already on the phone, and she was screaming, and we took off running through like the neighborhoods of Pittsburgh, like through like vegetable gardens and stuff, like over like mini fences, and then we waited it out for a little bit in this grocery store, and the car that we took was one of my older buddies, and he's very well dressed in the urbex scene. Let's just say it like that, because older, very he's been doing it from '04 actually,
Wow.
so very very proper. Let's say it like that. Very proper. He's got the vest on, like he had like the jacket. So he's like, he put on his glasses. He's like, his reading glasses. Like, I'm gonna go get the car because we parked on the street, and the chances of them assuming that he was with us was very
Right.
slim. And yeah, it was slim. But he detailed to me and my other buddy that was waiting in the grocery store that he did get a glance when he took off, and there were like I think two or three cops on the scene, but they didn't suspect anything, and I'm like 99% sure we left Pittsburgh after that.
That's amazing. You got to have somebody that's like kind of stealthy, with their clothing or whatever. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
I do. Yeah, like what for him specifically, and I try to adopt that too. But I think there's like a misconception with the urbex community, like kind of being raggedy and like not well dressed. I'm not saying go to abandoned buildings wearing suits and ties, but
Sure.
like there's a lot that comes with your appearance
Yeah.
that will help you go unnoticed like that. You don't have to go the extra mile of like that, like like a vest and stuff like that. But that's my boy. But just like jeans or like a sometimes a button shirt or like a nice shirt. Like I do see times, and it's kind of funny where friends of mine would just be like, I couldn't get permission. I'm like, bro, there's a hole in your shirt.
Yeah.
Your jeans are you don't have a belt, bro. You're not you're kind of they're kind of sagging. They're not going to give you permission. You can say you're a student, but your beard's down to your chin, or your like the beard's all the way down like the bottom of your neck. I'm not dishing it out. I'm just saying like there's extremes. There's extremes out there, and you can do as you wish. Like I'm not. It's but I'm just saying that if like there should be just a smidge of effort when it comes with appearance in urbex because it also could help out with cops. They look at you and they're just like, you look like a bum.
Yep.
Your chances of getting cuffed and taken to jail is way higher than just a collared shirt. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. No, it's so real. Like it's so real. So something I've done with the podcast now, I start asking my guests to ask the next guest a question. So I've got several questions that I'll kind of go back and forth with you on, but one that pertains to this very thing is from Zach Visuals, and his question is, where do you draw the line on risk?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do like that. I like to get risky. When I was younger, I had definitely like a completionist mindset with like, yeah, with Chicago, even if it was the most garbage spot, I would want to do it. But as of recently, I kind of, yeah, started thinking about risks. And I don't. I think the risk would be drawn at the federal level.
Sure.
Like it has to be like you have to know the way, and you're gonna come out because if you're gonna do a like, there's two angles to look at it. If you're gonna do a place that you know that they're gonna pull up on and they're gonna throw the book at you, don't do it. Or B, is the shot worth it? Because a lot of people do it just to explore, and I have a lot of good friends that just do it, just freehand do it with phones, and they're fine. Like they're at more of I don't want to say pure comfort level, but they're at definitely like they're in and out. Like they don't have to like with me and my other friends like set up tripods, get the
Right.
camera out. Like that is a risk at its own, and you gotta like weigh in is this photo, this one photo, maybe two for a spot, is it worth it? Is it worth risking your basically your life over?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
I
true.
yeah, and I think that most spots are not worth it. But then that's where like the whole completionist, like the just the drive and like the like in quotes like hunger and urbex, like
Mm.
yeah, like the cops come in 5 minutes. I'm gonna run that church. I'll set up the tripod, take that shot, and leave.
Yeah.
But then there's bigger ones like the power plants
Yeah. Yep.
or the like the jails or the prisons.
Yep.
Like they walk in on you, you're not, there's no convincing them otherwise. Is it worth that turbine shot? Is it worth the jail cell shot? If it's that dangerous where you're doing suspect things to get into on state or federal property, no, because you don't know if there's a camera in the corner watching you cut a hole in the fence of federal property or stuff like that. You don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and people will try to push it for the shot, for the experience, for the story, but like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not worth it, and sometimes you don't even know. Like, for example, you talked about how you started like watching YouTube at the beginning and we're trying to go that route. And Sam and Colby, they were arrested on federal charges because they were on a construction site in Florida, and they didn't know that construction sites in Florida are actually federal property in the state of Florida. So
Right.
they got caught, arrested, and charged with federal trespassing. So,
And they documented it all.
and they
Like,
documented it all. So it's like they fucked up, but they didn't know. But that goes back to like do your research before you go to a place. You
right.
have to do your research before you do this stuff. It's not just like willy nilly, just like, oh, that looks cool, let's go there. You got to put in the time and the footwork before you go hit spots because of things like this, because of the risk that you could be taking and going to one of these places. For you, has anything ever made you want to stop exploring or take a break? Like any like experiences that you were like, hold up, I gotta like take a step back.
Yeah, there was an issue out in Cleveland. I can't get into too much detail,
Sure.
not knowing. I got to look up the statute of limitations,
Hmm.
but it was in short. There was it was me and another person, and we got arrested. And there was a lot of like scares and worries of indictment in Cleveland and like standing before a like the grand jury and stuff like that. Like it could go to like the Supreme Court, like the case, and it was like yeah,
Sure.
like over trespassing, and I don't know if they try to rope in breaking and entering. Um, yeah, I like I said, I wish I could detail it, but I
No
can't.
problem.
Um, but it did result like no charges, no nothing. I walked away fine. They did hold my gear as evidence for like investigations, but they found nothing. And yeah, what I said to them was true. I'm not gonna go and be like, no, it was a false arrest, but what I said was true. But I did find out that the person that I was with contradicted everything I said, essentially, and I think
Oh,
that's what got me thrown in jail, as with
yeah,
him. But I can't say that for sure. I don't want to like put that on him,
for
but
sure.
I think that's what I'm thinking when they separate you and they ask you like the whole like what happened and it doesn't line up. I think that's what like really got us or got me.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what do you do when you're not exploring abandoned places? Like, what's your normal life like?
I do the exact opposite. So if you look at it in this lens, where I'm documenting the end of a building's life, the fall, the decay, all that stuff. But in my out of that, I work in construction. I'm seeing the birth of buildings. I'm
Wow.
building houses, managing property, and fixing places up. And I'm also going to school, college, so I'm studying. So just studying and working, just normal. Attend concert shows like the metal scene, and yeah,
Very cool. Very cool.
normal, just normal outside of the whole like, oh, when the night comes, oh, then now you're like in like the whole like cool. I don't even know how to say it without laughing. Like the whole like cool underground, like yeah, like exploring abandoned buildings type ambiance.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. And as a fellow metalhead myself, I love mixing the two. I film a lot of music videos in abandoned places. I think that they make really cool settings and they're unique and you can't rent them. You can't just like rent a abandoned
100%.
church, you just have to be there and film the thing. It's
Hundred
pretty cool.
percent. But that's awesome that you do that. I didn't know that. That's actually
Yeah,
like what I was saying it to my one friend. I got two friends that are in the whole metal scene. And I was like, yo, with these local like death metal, black metal, but I'm more favorable towards black metal.
sure.
And I'm going to these shows and I'm taking band photos and like sending it to them and posting it too. Like if you saw a few, but then I was
Mhm.
like, I want to like start like proposing like I'll do promo shoots like, at abandoned churches, and it would totally go with the whole like black metal vibe, or
For
like
sure.
even a music video. So that's actually awesome. I don't see too much of that. I know it's big in Europe, but I haven't seen much of it lately.
Yeah, definitely. I work for bands on tour, off tour, locally. I do all that stuff as well as a content person. But yeah, I mean, to the difficult thing really is trying to film in an abandoned place with a full band because drums are loud. There's no way around it.
Yeah,
You can't be quiet and play the drums, especially if you're in a deathcore band or whatever. So that's the one thing I've run into, but I've done a lot of like solo stuff at abandoned places and promo shoots. I've done a ton of promo shoots in abandoned places. I feel like it's my favorite setting, and they're all unique
oh
and
yeah.
they change every time you go there. But for you, if you could live in one place you've explored for an entire week, which place would it be?
Linwood Hall before they added all the security.
Good answer.
That's the most livable one. There's a bed in there. They have
Yeah, yeah.
sheets. I think that's the most livable one that I've done. I think yeah, mansions in general. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone will want us. I know people that have slept in abandoned churches and prisons and all that stuff, but I think I'm okay. I think I'm all right. I would in certain circumstances, like that early, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. pre-dawn.
Yeah, yeah.
I've taken a nap.
Sure.
Well, scared that outside there was security driving around this power plant, but I got an hour in. Woke up to the sunrise to the turbine hall, and
Sick.
continued on from there.
That's
But
amazing.
hey, speaking of power plants, so I do got another story from like COVID year 2020.
Let's hear it.
Um, Power plant that I was put on by a friend who I don't think explores anymore. Was in like he did YouTube, but was like more smart about it than most. And he had a power plant up in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. It's gone now, but we pulled up on it, or he told me about it, and I pulled up on it in the September, October of 2019 twice, and it was pretty activated on the site. I think I know someone that got caught there too, but it was pretty activated. Couldn't really do it, and then we managed to do it when I went with him, the one that put me onto it, but I didn't like my photos, so I said let's go back during COVID, thinking that it would be okay.
Right.
Did the whole train walk, just walked right in essentially. But then we started noticing like, hey, the garage, like the big, loading doors open. And while we were walking to the conveyor belt, like the coal conveyor belts, we heard a dog barking, but it's a big field. You think that, oh, okay, it's just probably just a coyote or a wolf. We go in. I have my new camera at the time. I'm taking way better photos. The whole place is lit up now because it was under abatement. We found out that it was under abatement. So they had the whole place wired up with like, it was beautiful.
Wow.
It was beautiful. Like when I went there in 2019, the whole thing was shut off. So to see the whole place lit up, it was awesome. And right, I was taking handheld photos because of the scares of just like there's them, there's potentially security.
Yeah.
You start realizing that okay, that door is open, the loading door is open, that dog barking, like there could be security in here
Right.
or someone watching the abatement process. Fortunately, right as I was like, okay, I'm gonna take out my tripod and get like this nice, 3-shot bracket of the control room. Dog just going nuts, like down the hallway, barking, nuts. And I grab my stuff. My friend, I think my friend has a video. I gotta find the video. I'll probably send it to you. But we run out and we run down the stairs, way all the way down to the ground floor because I think the control room was on like the third or fourth floor. What was cool though is that the person, I don't know if the person took notice to us there. I mean, he had to have heard us because the floors were squeaky. It was like a nice polished
Oh yeah.
power plant floor or control room floor. So they most likely heard us, but the dog wasn't let go, which was a silver lining for sure because we would have been fucked up if the dog came up after us. I don't think that it would have been able to run down the stairs because the stairs were like the open spiked stairs.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So we were fine, but we took off and we ran. Didn't take the route we took in. We were like cutting through like tall grass, like 10-foot tall grass, and came out. I don't think you could have more mosquito bites like ever. It was gross. But yeah, I mean, that's another one of the crazy stories. But once you go through enough of them, then you try to play it way safer, and
Yeah.
you don't want to risk it. And then like how you asked about permission, um, then you start wanting to reach out more because you're fine. You're in a way when you're like not like now like 19, you're bulletproof essentially. Like
Yeah.
when I was younger, 17, 18, 16, I didn't really do that like crazy stuff, but you are bulletproof at that time, and I'd say that it will wear off, once you get older. I'm
For sure.
definitely not going to put myself in that kind of risk when I'm like in my 30s.
Right.
Even now, like with going through school, when I was going through that whole like indictment scare, the first thing I was like, if my school, like if I was charged and my school found out about it, like
Oh,
that's
true.
like, I don't know if it's a dismissal, but that's definitely like you can take my financial aid away.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
for sure.
they ask you on your application. I remember last year, and they asked you on the application, have you been to jail? Have you been arrested? I'm like, no, I have not.
Yeah, it's crazy, it's like the risk is you just it depends on you as a person and your life trajectory, and like what's going on in your life, like, but yeah, you're right. The older you get, the more consequences you have for things like this.
Yeah.
It's so true. Um for social media, how'd you come up with your username, and how has social media helped or hurt you as an explorer?
Well, that's also a wonderful question. I actually had an older Instagram account that I've, just it's still up, and I've changed the name for that one. It was a bigger account than what I have now.
Mhm.
The original account, and it was going good. Like it definitely like was I was on like a decent path with that one. But then I realized with the few arguments that I had with other people, with the TikTok scene, especially,
Yeah.
like I was bringing bad attention to my account, and some of these people that they're not nice. Like they will like I've heard stories of they'll look for you where you live. Like they'll look for people that you know and then send information and just outright like look out to get you, whether
Yeah.
it'd be like just putting your name out there because a lot of people don't put their real names out there, or just stuff like that. Like you conceal your identity to a degree. So I thought like with the whole beef and stuff, like not beef, but like just like calling them out. It was just bringing bad attention to my account, bad account.
Yeah.
and it was less of the art portfolio that I wanted it, and it was becoming more of just like a nuisance in the sense of just like now it's just yeah, the original urbex people that we all know and love on Instagram, like the main ones, and
For sure.
a lot there's like I would say most of them are great. Like, most of them are great. They're doing what they love. I don't have any hate in my heart for like yeah for pretty much all of them. But then there's going to be like the little ones here and there that are just causing a problem and bring that false narrative of what urbex is
Yeah.
is actually not, and that kind of plagued my account,
Gotcha.
and stuff was put out there, and I was just like, all right, accounts closed. This is just a I don't even know what that account is anymore. But I made this new one, Dust Till Dawn, because it's like just a spin-off Quentin Tarantino movie. Like that's
Yeah.
just like kind
Great.
of putting all the like putting everything under that umbrella of abandoned buildings, horror movies,
Hmm.
and like even like yeah, like the metal music. 'Cause it all falls into like a very um like a sibling type category. They all kind of like in a web almost.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I used Dust Till Dawn, and then like my name, like the last three letters are Don Don. So it worked out.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's amazing. When I came across it, I was like, "Oh yeah, this guy for sure. That's great." We love the reference. Love Quentin Tarantino in general. Just a great filmmaker for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I had a lot of names. I was playing with a lot of names because Dawn. There's so much
yeah, there's so much you could do.
Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah, yeah,
all this stuff. Dead by Dawn.
yeah.
But I think Dust Till Dawn was more appropriate. Because I don't want to scare some peeps or something like that. I mean, maybe for Halloween, I won't like. I'll just kind of like put it out like this is like the dust or the like the Dead by Dawn collection for
There you go.
October or something.
That's cool. I love that. Um, so another question that somebody else had is from Exploring with Nomad, and his question is, "Do you have any good luck charms when you go exploring?"
Ooh, good luck charms. I think being religious is in a way for me, and the way that I perceive religion is is in your heart. I don't really believe in organized religion or just like outright just like church is fine, but like the amount that there's a lot, like there's extremities, and I just
For
think
sure.
to me like religion is a very personal thing. But when I go to these buildings, I say a prayer, but for myself and then for my friends. But that's
Mhm.
to me, and I feel like that's in a way a good luck charm because when I do that, I'm at ease because there's a lot of
Right.
like there's a lot of anxiety for some places,
Yeah.
for some bad spirits.
Sure.
Then when you do that, it kind of brings a good luck charm uh, to you or yeah, or to the group, and you kind of feel like when you do that, it relieves the anxiety, it relieves the stress or the dangers, or even like yeah, just that whole vibe of the cops are coming or some stuff like that. Or like I don't want to. I don't know how much you have experience like with the spiritual stuff, but I have friends that do believe in spirits,
Sure.
and there are some places that have had like bad energy, and then when you
Mhm.
just bring that spiritual or religious good luck charm, if you will, it kind of just like it eases the environment, and you kind of walk away without like oh I could have gone to jail or I like nervous.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the dark energy thing is real. On the podcast, I call it the darkness because there's no other way to explain it. It's like
The void.
you look down a hallway and it's like a void. Exactly. It's like you just look down that hallway and you're like, "I'm not fucking going over there. That does not look that feels wrong," and I've experienced the darkness many times in different asylums, especially because there's so much
Bad
darkness that
energy.
happened. Yeah, there's just so much bad that happened in the asylums of America. I mean, we could talk about that. That could do a whole podcast about that. Like just the darkness that happened here in the American asylum system. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm definitely very familiar with the darkness.
yeah. In and out of urbex for me, but yeah, no, it's definitely like a scary thing. But weirdly for me, I never really caught anything strange in hospitals. Maybe it's because that I do the whole prayer thing, or
Yeah,
but hospitals, aside from one in Waukegan, Illinois, but I think the Waukegan hospital that I did, which is demolished, it was because we were just completely manic looking for the morgue,
Mm.
and it just became like you're going in circles. We spent like almost 2 hours circling the first floor for the morgue, and it
Damn.
then at some point then it becomes like, I don't know if you want to attribute it to the darkness or just or spirits. Like it got hazy after an hour. Like you're going
Wow.
in a maze. Like if you watched, yeah, like grave encounters where
Yeah, yeah.
they go into the asylum and they can't leave because
Right.
now because they're stuck in there. They're going in circles. It really felt like that. But
That's
then we
wild.
find the morgue and you play funky music in there, Britney Spears or whatever, and lightens the mood. Dancing, it's chill and it lightens it up. But that was one like major one, and I've been to spots where people have gotten, like, aside from dying, people dying in hospitals. Like
Sure.
I've heard stories of schools that I've been to where bodies were brought in or someone
Hmm.
was murdered there.
Hmm.
Never had bad energy at those. But the one type of place, and I have a friend that could back me up, is that no matter where in the country, the one type of spot that we both have had odd energy at, Scientology churches.
Oh yeah, because they're fucking crazy.
It is Scientology churches are definitely like, and churches should have good energy, or that you, for some, like going in, you're
Yeah.
kind of in quotes like you have like you're not bothered or you're welcome in
Right.
quotes
Right.
for
Right.
every time it's just something goes wrong, something, not necessarily police, but someone's in there, something, just things happen that you just can't explain.
So
You
weird.
just can't explain.
Such a weird type of place.
Um,
Scientology churches.
yeah.
So weird.
There's one for a story like more for me, like solo, because I do like a lot of these places. You go with like your main crew or your main
Right.
friends or your or fellow artists. The one I linked up with a local friend in Ohio, and would not really expect that one to have bad energy until I found out history afterward. But it was a Catholic church, boarded up from the inside, I believe. Yes, it was, the windows and everything were boarded up from the inside. The only way to get in was through a connected building going through the crawl space,
Huh.
and the power worked inside. Um, Go in there, and we shut on all the lights, and he's having a panic attack. Like it may have been from claustrophobia, but when I was shooting, I've never really had issues with my camera, but my camera would not work at all. Like it
Hmm.
would not work. And the only other place that I've had stuff like that, well, once technically was the old Joliet prison, but that's not really like abandoned anymore. And everyone knows, like in Joliet, like the locals know that the alleged ghost sightings there
Mm.
are frequent. But for this one church, it just felt like someone was watching you and was like basically like in a way telling you to like
Hmm.
leave now. And the place is, I was like, it's like top 10 abandoned churches in the country. I would say that.
Hmm.
But no one wanted to be in there for more than 20 minutes. Like it was just like they were like getting manic to leave. And I was just like setting up on the balcony where the piano got pushed down from the top, and I'm just
Yeah.
standing at the top of it, and I just keep looking back at like the corner, like this one corner of the room. I'm just like, no, like when someone's looking at you,
Yeah.
but no one's there, and it's just such a weird feeling. And the place is lit up. It's a Catholic church. It's not Scientology. It's in amazing condition. I'm more than happy to show you photos corresponding to all of these stories, by the way.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, after we left, and mind you, that he was just so in such a weird headspace, he would not do the crawl space again. So like we managed to like unwedge one of the boards from the inside and slide out the window, and that got sealed later on. But
Mm.
something was weirdly freaky in there. And then I found out that during when it was open, I think it was either during a renovation or the deconsecration process. Someone fell off the scaffolding and died,
Oh my God.
and I'm like, "Yep, yeah,
Damn.
that makes sense."
Yeah, that's wild. Holy crap.
I'm not trying to go out there on the podcast and say, ghosts are real, but
Yeah, yeah, I got
it's
you.
there are some things you can't explain.
Sure.
And I'm also promoting that Halloween is coming up too, so it's a good time to talk
Yes.
about this.
Let's go. The best season. Spooky
That's
season is here.
spooky season.
It is here. I think Starbucks just brought back the pumpkin spice latte. I don't know.
It did. I
I don't drink
had one
coffee.
today. I had one today. I didn't know.
It's officially spooky season, everybody. Here we go. All right. So, knowing what you know about exploring abandoned places and, being able to like hide from others if need be, how long do you think you would survive the zombie apocalypse?
Ooh. I mean, I think it's a given. I would hope most explorers know how to survive. You just gotta go for the malls.
Yes.
You gotta go for the malls. Have to. 'Cause that's like the best place to stock up. Even if the inside just kind of get grimy,
Yeah,
you have the roof. You definitely have the roof.
absolutely.
And then also, everyone has their spots that they don't share, and the spots are in good condition. Prisons and some churches and some schools, and they have power. They do.
Yeah.
So everyone will go. Like I'm sure, like the number one place to go is with power and places to lock up. So I think me personally would definitely survive for a long time. Um, but as with most, I would hope most of the urbex community
I think we have a leg up.
definitely like up.
I think we do.
Yeah, no, because you also because like gotta in real life practice. I mean, we're not sealing up the place for zombies, but we do have to lock up going in there.
Yep.
So the cops don't come in, or security, or just a vagrant.
Yep.
Like we're already preparing in a way.
Exactly. The amount of times that we've locked ourselves in with our own padlock on the inside, like, dude, I, I would be a wealthy person.
I've actually never heard of that. The
Yeah,
lock inside. I know like deadbolting is probably as far as I've gone, or maybe like wedging it with like a piece of two by
sure.
four, but I've never heard that. You do
Yeah. So,
that?
a friend of mine kind of introduced it to me. We were in a movie theater in California, and
Lock.
he picked the lock, and he had his own padlock with him, but he picked the lock to get in, and then we went in, and he looped the chain backwards, so like from the outside to the inside, and he padlocked it so that nobody could come in because we were in like a really fucking sketchy part of town, and he was like, "This way, nobody can come in while we're in here," and I was like, "That is genius, genius."
No, that's actually really smart. I do like that.
Yeah. So do you have a question that you would like to ask the next guest on the podcast?
Ooh. Hmm. I'd say this in the surge of a lot of urbexers and a lot of just explorers wanting to chase that, the internet fame in a way, not like with their, pictures or like the TikTok videos.
Mhm.
How like let me see. I'm going to think about how the best way to phrase this. Like, what would it take you to sell out,
Ooh, okay.
or
Okay.
would you sell out? Like, would you sell out your like not the urbex code,
Yeah.
but like the protection to the spots, the main not rules, but like the main your original
Like our code.
passion, yeah,
Yeah.
the passion, and then the protection, and yeah, essentially the artistry that comes with the photos and the documentation and the historian perspective. Would you sell that out for money? Like, would you sell out?
So what's your answer to the question?
If you asked me this question, I'd say my first year at college, I would probably lean towards like the money side. But now I don't. I can't. Like I reverted back to what is dear and passionate to me. Just seeing how I've seen people sell out,
Yeah.
and I just can't do it because when you see the destruction of the building in real time,
Yeah.
it does hurt. I know that it's not your building, but then you realize that like what comes first, and that's like the exploring, the passion to explore, to be places that most people don't go to, and then documenting that history and then cementing that into time. It's like, documenting the past to forge your own future in a way.
Right.
But however, there are beautiful examples of people that can do both.
Sure.
And like one of my best friends, he manages to do both. Like sell prints. Like I think that's a beautiful way to capitalize on your work.
Hmm. Yeah.
But or books.
Yeah, yeah. I've got two photography books about urban exploring, and
I got you.
while it's my least profitable thing that I do, I love it. I love that more than anything. I love getting to sign them and mail them out to people and have them display them on their coffee table or on their shelves. I think it's a really cool way to like kind of take your art. And I feel like as photographers we don't print our work out enough. It's not like back in the day you had film, you had to print it out to see it. I feel like that art is kind of lost. So I'm a big proponent to printing your work out, and I've got all the photography in my house is photo prints from abandoned places. So each room is like kind of set up in a different style, if you will.
Oh yeah, you gotta run it back to the old times when things were, yeah, like displayed on walls and it was art
Yeah.
galleries. Like I love that whole thing. Like I really do hate the whole, like, like the video. Like I do like video documentation, but I don't like the whole push that it's just strictly video, strictly TikTok.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
It is a big
yeah,
push, and it's unfortunate. And
yeah,
I think that's why things like Vero exist. Like Vero, the social media app, is like I think it's strictly photos. I don't think you can post videos on there. But
that's great. But
yeah,
yeah, like as you said with the if the photos and prints around your house, like that's like I feel like that's integral. If you are on the more the artist side, like what's passionate, and how you said with the books, like that's clearly like that's passion. Like you're not making the
100%.
money, but
Yeah,
it is
100%.
that putting your art out there for people, or putting what your eye can only see and no one else, but in the way that with these books and prints, then they can see your lens.
Exactly. Exactly. So my last question for you is: what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started exploring?
Ooh. Well, that's a good. Let me think here. I'd say just like you got to find the right crowd that makes you think. Really, like I mean, you meet so many people. There's so many people, and in a way, you are representative of the crowd and the people you hang out. I did learn that right away, so I'm
Yeah.
not really saying like I wish I knew that. Right? I mean, I do wish I knew that when I was 16 and starting it out, because that probably would have prevented some missteps.
Hmm.
But being retrospective enough, just stick with the crowd that makes you stick with your passions, and you're doing what you love, and you're not sacrificing the place, or you're not like changing up on like the whole moral code with urbex, because when things are getting thrown at you, or you start doing other things, and it will change up, and then you don't realize that you kind of just like the building and the whole place is like destroyed, and like for what, like a few, like 100 more likes on an Instagram post, or like your inclusion in a TikTok video, or inclusion in a YouTube video.
Hmm.
You just gotta stick with yeah, with the roots. I'd say
Yeah.
just stick with the roots. And I mean, I was reminded very well about that. um More so recently, about that, because how I said, if you asked me that question about selling out, if you asked me that my first year of college, it would be I would definitely lean more in the capitalization side of things. But when you're reminded, um, I'd say by a muse, um, you know that sticking with your passion, and sticking with the right people, and sticking with what makes it wholesome, and makes it your to the architecture of your soul. You're sticking to your architecture of the your soul is what um, you have to remember. And that's what you have to know. The best way to like honor that aside from just sticking to like what that means, like with the morals and this is what makes you you, is also being being good. And I'd say that the right now, kind of just thinking back to the history of just with like my history with urbex, I think a lot of people can relate, is that just don't immediately judge someone or cause issues or cause like breakups, like friendship breakups, because of a like reason A, B, C, D, and like unless it's like crazy, like if it entails like assault, racism, or bigotry, like sure, like that's a very valid reason. But it's if it's like, oh no, don't explore this person because they're just weird or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like just don't bring a judgmental mindset into this. Like I wish I knew that when I was younger, or just like don't explore this person because like I don't explore with them, or I don't like their work, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. If it's just like some like artificial garbage,
Yeah.
don't do that. And I know a lot of people. I want to see a lot, but quite a bit of people do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's
I'm
very
sure.
gatekeepy.
Yeah, the gatekeepy stuff, or it's just like I don't like. Oh no, yeah, this is the best way to say it. I don't like the way they explore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, like thinking back, I think that's kind of garbage, because if you just talk to some people, then you share different perspectives, then it could always move forward and sometimes move better.
Yeah.
You don't have to, force a friendship, but you take out those like the whole like judgmental crap. You can meet some cool people. You can meet some cool friends that would not have happened if you just maintained the I don't like the way they explore, or I don't like their internet presence, like that immediate artificial judgment.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I completely agree. I feel like a lot of people are very like that, and even people that, I get DMs sometimes about the podcast, or, comments that people will leave that are negative, or like saying crap about the way I interview, or that I have people on over and over again. Like some people I like to talk to multiple times, so it's like people will just complain to complain,
Right.
just to have
Exactly.
something to say. And to my when it comes to the podcast, if people are talking shit about the podcast, I'm like, okay, well, start your own podcast then. If you don't like mine, one, you don't have to listen to it. Two, you can start your own podcast and do it the way you think it should be done.
Yeah.
And like this was the first urban exploring podcast, and now there's four, I think, which
Yeah.
is awesome. I love that the community's growing, and I love that people want to share their stories and interview other people. I think that it's a great way to build this community up rather than
Mhm.
tearing it down. So yeah,
Exactly.
for
And
sure.
that's for me. Yeah, like that's a beautiful way to say it. And for me, that kind of doesn't really like. I don't want to say I don't associate. It's like I'm not in. Let's just say I'm not involved in the community aspect, but I'm still like supportive.
Sure.
And it
You're
definitely
still
is.
you're still
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
community where
yeah,
it's
yeah, of
like,
course. But like with how TikTok is doing
yeah,
things,
yeah,
like
yep,
if how you're saying that there's hate towards the podcast, like I don't see, for me, like I don't see why that's a thing.
yeah,
There's no negativity. Like you could have an issue with an individual explorer, sure. Let's just
sure.
say that, like, or but I don't see like if there's nothing wrong, or if there's no negativity, like no one's going to jail over this podcast or
Right,
anything,
right, yeah,
or it's just like it's just there's no reason to complain, because if you think about it, this is your creation, like this is
right.
your, like in a way, your child. This is representative of the architecture of your soul, and you are doing something that is dear to your heart. What's the point? Like why do why do you hate on that? You're not out here listing out pins and
No,
stuff.
no,
But I'm just
definitely.
saying, like if it's, yeah, if you're not, if there's no wrong done, why even complain? And why kind of like beat at, or try to tear down that architecture of the soul? I'm gonna keep saying that because it sounds cool.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. Well, thank you for coming on No Tracers. If people want to follow you online, let them know where they can find you.
Instagram, really, right now I'm looking for other outlets. Right now it's Instagram at dusk till underscore dawn.
So that was Dust Till Dawn. Dawn, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was awesome talking to you, and thank you for sharing such great insight and such heartfelt, the answers were so genuine, and I hope to meet Don one day. I hope to explore with him. I feel like he's a super, super skilled photographer, and I love seeing his stuff. So if you want to give him a follow, his links are down in the description. Thank you for listening to this episode of the No Tracers podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a rating and feedback. And if you want to come on the show, hit me up. No.tracers. Let's get you on. All right, guys. I'll talk to you next time. Stay strong. Keep enduring. Go out. Go explore something. And remember, leave no trace.